Hi everyone, welcome again. My name is Toumayants, and today's video is about something that is near and dear to my heart. It's a concept called sequence of return risk. I'm going to warn you, this is a pretty complicated concept that in order to help me explain it better, I'm going to have some graphics and some numbers on the screen so that you can see it with me and so that it doesn't feel like we're reading from a dictionary. Okay? So this is the best way I know how to explain this concept. I have two friends, and they both have $500,000, and they're both trying to get ready for retirement, but they don't have any more money to put into the $500,000, so they're relying on the market to deliver those kinds of returns. Now, one friend has these rates of returns. If you notice, the numbers look really good in the beginning, in the first 7 years, and then things get really horrible for him in the last 3 years. The returns are awful. Okay? Now he ends his portfolio with around $739,000. Okay? Now his other friend has the exact same $500,000, but we're going to flip those returns and we're going to have the bad years first and the good years later. Now the question is, does that change anything? Does that friend have a better outcome or worse outcome or the same? Well, turns out that he ends up with the exact same outcome. How is that possible? Because both returns had the exact same average rate of return. If you add up all of those returns and divide them by 10, that will give you the average rate of return, and they both are 5.3%. You know why? Because we didn't change any of the numbers. We just changed the order of those numbers. So what's interesting is, while you're saving for retirement, whether you get bad numbers in the beginning or bad numbers in the end, it really doesn't matter because the end number is always going to be the same as long as the average return is the same. Here's what's interesting though. What happens if those two people were at the footsteps of retirement and were needing to take money out? Let's assume that they have to take 4% out. So 4% of $500,000 is $20,000. And to keep it simple, we're not going to assume inflation or anything like that. We're just going to have them take each $20,000 out every year. So the first friend starts off with $500,000, and he has really good years in the beginning, remember, and then has really bad years in the very end. And meanwhile, he's been taking $20,000 out of his account every year. So what does he have at the very end of 10 years? He has $563,137. Not bad. Started with $500,000 and he still has $63,000 more after the 10 years, while taking $200,000 out. What happens to friend number two? What happens to the person who has really bad returns in the beginning and really good returns in the end? Will he have better than, or worse than, or the same as the 563,000? And what's interesting is he has only $391,783 to show for it. He took the exact same amount of money out. He took $200,000 over those 10 years, $20,000 a year. But he ended up with $391,000. Now, the question is, why did that happen? Well, that happened because in the beginning years, not only was he getting very low return, but he was also taking money out, which affected his ability to rebound later on. Because if you notice, at the end of the third year, the one friend, the first friend, at the end of the third year had $647,000 in his account, but the other friend only had $231,000 from his account. So this is what sequence of return is all about. If you get bad returns in the beginning of your retirement when you're taking money out, it it gets really difficult to recover from those returns in your later years. So, tying this back to the Riskalyze video, which was we published earlier, it is so important that you understand your risk number, but I think it's even more important that you understand the risk number of the portfolio that you have. Because if your portfolio holds too much risk and you experience a big drop in the first 3 years or 5 years or so of your retirement, then I'm afraid it could be almost impossible to recover from it, as long as you're still having to take money out of them. So I hope you enjoyed today's topic. It is so important that you understand what sequence of return risk is and how it could affect you and your portfolio. So again, use the Riskalyze tool so that you can understand your risk number, and we can help you figure out what your portfolio's number is to see if they mesh well together. So if you need to reach me, you can call my number. You can call me on my number, or you can send me an email. Again, remember my ebook is available, and this topic that we talked about is actually from my ebook. There's a whole section that kind of dives a little bit more in depth into it. So enjoy, and I look forward to hearing from you.